Hello everyone and welcome to your guide to popular builds and Heroes of the Storm. My name is Serendeth and today we'll be checking out Anub'arak's Beetle Build. But before we get into any of that, a quick disclaimer. These guides are not written in stone. They are here to point you in the right direction, but ultimately they are a tool to help you learn the hero on your own. Now that we've gotten through that, let's take a look at Anub'arak. Anub'arak is a melee warrior from the Warcraft universe. He was king of Azul-Narub, but after his death and subsequent loss at a high-stakes checkers game, he was raised as a crypt lord and forced to do the bidding of the Lich King. In the Nexus, he continues his reign of destruction, crushing all under his iron carapace. He has a strong kit that allows him to burrow into the action and disrupt the enemy team with stuns and beetles. Before we get into his talent build, let's take a quick look at his skills. His trait is called Scarapost. This is a passive that summons a beetle at your location when you use an ability. Beetles will attack the closest nearby enemy, and if no enemy is found, they will venture out to the lane. The beetles last for 8 seconds, and as with most summoned creatures, they will be able to soak skill shots and help push the lane. The beetles don't do a lot of damage, but with enough of them out there, it will start to add up. The beetles will also be the main focus of today's build. His Q is called Impale. This is a 12-second cooldown skill shot that shoots a line of spikes that deal moderate damage and stun enemies hit for 1 second. This is a great tool for disrupting the enemy and dishing out some damage. The shot can also not be blocked, so make sure you line it up to hit multiple enemies. Anub'arak's W is called Hardened Carapace. This is an 8-second cooldown that grants a shield for 3 seconds. The shield isn't a lot, but it can go a long way to keeping you safe and allowing you to further disrupt the enemy team. His E is called Burrow Charge. This is a 16-second cooldown, movement-based skill shot that allows you to burrow to a location, then burst from the ground, dealing moderate damage and briefly stunning nearby enemies. You can activate the ability again while you are burrowing to pop out of the ground early. This is an amazing tool in Anub'arak's kit that allows him to engage, cut off the enemy's retreat, or escape from a bad situation. Now that we've covered his base abilities, let's take a quick look at his heroics. His first heroic is called Locust Swarm. This is a 100-second cooldown ability that unleashes a swarm of ravenous bugs that deal light periodic damage to nearby enemies for 8 seconds. For each enemy damaged, Anub'arak receives some healing. This is a very powerful sustain tool that allows Anub'arak to stay in team fights much longer than his base kit would normally allow. His second heroic is called Cocoon. This is a 60-second cooldown targeted ability that wraps an enemy in webbing, preventing them from acting and making them untargetable for 8 seconds. This is the ultimate disruption ability that allows Anub'arak to completely remove someone from a team fight. That said, enemies may go all Samwise Gamgee on the webbing to free their ally early, so ensure that your team makes the most of the time you have. Now that we've covered his basic abilities, let's dive into the talents. At level 1, you have a choice to make. The choice comes down to the map and your personal preference. Your first option is to go with Assault Scarab, which increases the damage of your summoned beetles by 25%. The beetles don't do a lot of damage, but the boost can and will start to add up over time. And since we are trying to make the most out of our beetles with this build, this is a solid talent to take and synergizes well with later talents. If you're looking to have a little more sustain, and you're playing on a map where you can collect a lot of regen globes, then Regeneration Master may be the talent for you. For every regen globe you collect, your health regeneration will be permanently increased by 1.5. This talent, mixed with some of the other beetle talents, can really go a long way to keeping you alive during those long, drawn-out team fights. At level 4, you're going to go with Legion of Beetles. This talent automatically spawns a beetle at your location every 8 seconds. So on top of spawning a beetle every time you activate an ability, you will now just automatically spit another one out, giving you more damage and more sustain later on. At level 7, you're going to further enhance your beetles by taking Legion Scarabs. This allows your beetles to heal you for 50% of the damage they deal as long as you are nearby. This talent can give you a surprising amount of sustain in team fights and in solo engagements. For Anub'arak's heroic, you're going to go with Locust Swarm. This ability fits very well with this build, allowing you to deal more damage and sustain longer in those team fights. Anub'arak is one of the least tanky warriors out there, so any way that you can prolong your life is important. All that said, do not completely forsake Cocoon. If your team really needs an opponent locked down, like Cho'Gall, then pick up this heroic instead. Just be aware of what you're giving up to do so. At level 13, you're going to go with Burning Rage. This gives Anub'arak a fire aura that deals damage to nearby enemies every second. Anub'arak excels at sticking to enemies. With his stuns, burrow charge, and big booty, you will be able to get a lot of damage out of this talent. At level 16, you have a few talents to choose from. The choice really comes down to personal preference and the enemy team's makeup. If the enemy team has a lot of high health heroes, then you may want to go with Blood for Blood. This is a 60-second cooldown targeted ability that deals 10% of the target's maximum life, giving you twice that back. This is just another tool to help you survive in team fights, giving you a bit of damage and some nice sustain. Just remember, you want to target high health heroes with this ability to get the most out of it. If the enemy team has a lot of auto attack heroes, then you may want to go with Imposing Presence, which slows the attack speed of enemies attacking you by 40%. Just keep in mind that this talent only affects enemies that are attacking you. The moment that they switch targets, their attack speed returns to normal. But if you have good positioning and are forcing them to attack you, then you will get a lot out of this talent. If neither of those choices fit your playstyle, or you find yourself just not needing either of them, then Epicenter is what you will take. This increases the impact area and damage of Burrow Charge by 85%. This gives you a lot more damage, but more importantly, allows you to hit a lot more enemies with a knock-up when you burst through the ground. At level 20, you have another choice. Your first choice is going to be Hive Master, and is only available if you went Locust Swarm. This grants you a permanent vampire locust that attacks nearby enemies, dealing some damage and healing you. This just further increases your damage and sustain in team fights. Your other option is to go with Rewind. This is a 60-second cooldown that resets the cooldown on all of your basic abilities. This talent, simply put, gives you more damage, disruption, shields, and yes, more beetles. Just a quick note about your level 20 talent. Anub'arak also has access to Hardened Shield, and shouldn't be overlooked if you're being focused down a lot during team fights. Anub'arak's Beetle Build is a strong build that brings a lot of CC to the fight, good sustained with summoned beetles, great tools for engagement and escapes. His summoned beetles can be a nuisance during team fights because they can block skill shots, and Anub'arak can be a decent ganker on small maps that allow him to roam. However, while his beetles did see some massive AI improvements, they can still be finicky, limiting his damage and more importantly his health regen. Anub'arak can solo tank, but he can still be very squishy for a warrior. And his beetles can be killed, again reducing damage and health regen. Alright, now we've covered all of that, let's go over some quick tips for Anub'arak. Do not spam your abilities to get more beetles out. Use your abilities at appropriate times to get shields up when you need them, or stun an opponent using an ultimate. The beetles are an added bonus, and with Legion of Beetles, you will automatically spawn one every 8 seconds. Try not to always use Burrow Charge to engage on an enemy. Sometimes it's just better to walk into the front line and save Burrow Charge to secure a kill or disengage from a fight that isn't going your way. After landing a stun, make sure you move around your opponent. When the stun wears off, you will now be in position to body block the enemy, preventing them from escaping. You don't have a lot of health, so getting stunned before you have a chance to activate an ability can quickly result in your death. So before you engage in a team fight, make sure you activate Locust Swarm. Not only will this start to deal damage to the enemy, but it will also give you some sustain to hopefully survive any stuns. This one may seem like a no-brainer, but I still feel it's necessary to mention. If you're ganking between the lanes after level 4, make sure you stay mounted or disable Legion of Beetles. It would be rather embarrassing to be hidden in a bush, only to have a beetle come crawling out after an enemy, giving you away. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you found this guide helpful. If you have any variations or tips for this build, feel free to share them in the comments below. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, I will catch you all later.